Joseph Pereira says, I recall you said the Legion of Superheroes was one of your favorite comic series. Who is your favorite Legionnaire? Thanks and long live the Legion. Okay, so yeah, the Legion of Superheroes is my favorite all-time comic book superhero team. For those who may not be aware, they're a group of young heroes in the 31st century. So you get superheroes and science fiction. You know, what's better than that? They, I have not liked all Legion series. So, for example, recently I was excited the Legion had not had a regular ongoing series after for several years, because comic book series go have ups and downs in their popularity, and they're not always in print. And the Legion had been out of print for several years, and then it was announced that Brian Michael Bendis would be writing a new Legion series, and I was like, oh yes, great, more new Legion stories. And then I read his series and I hated it. He just had logorrhea out the wazoo. He just in just dialogue balloon after dialogue balloon after dialogue balloon. It was just way too word dense. And worse than that, he was trying to incorporate a ton of 31st century slang into it. That it was just hard to read, and it was super slow moving, and I just didn't like it at all. So I don't like everything Legion, but they are my all-time favorite group. And I would like them. I mean, I like the Justice League, I like the Justice Society, I like the X-Men, or at least the first and second generation X-Men. I understand they've done loads of other stuff since then that I have no idea about. But yeah, Legion's my favorite. In terms of who is my favorite Legionnaire, well, I tend not to think in terms of favorites that much. So I don't really have a favorite Legionnaire at the moment. Some Legionnaires, and I have liked at different times. The individual Legionnaires can go up and down in how much I like what the writers and artists are doing with them. I tend, so the original three Legionnaires were Cosmic Boy, Lightning Lad, and Saturn Girl. And I like all three of them. Especially I like Cosmic Boy and Saturn Girl. Also, one character who became a Legionnaire early on was Brainiac 5, and who is super intelligent and looks cool. I mean, he's got blonde hair, which I had as a kid, and green skin. And I always, especially as a kid, I always kind of identified with Brainiac 5. So he's one that I've liked. I also like Timberwolf. Timberwolf is sort of the original Wolverine. He existed before Wolverine did, and Wolverine is kind of based on Timberwolf, even though Wolverine is by Marvel and Timberwolf is by DC. And particularly in the 1970s, there was an artist named Mike Grell who redesigned the visual look of all the Legionnaires. Some of his redesigns were not that great. Like, he had Saturn Girl wearing basically a bikini, a two-piece bikini. And that, I didn't think that, I think that's kind of hilarious now, but I don't think that's the best look for her. Also, he had Cosmic Boy in this bizarre looking one piece thing that I am not a fan of either. It looks ridiculous. But he did have a nice design for Timberwolf, where he had blunked out eyes with big kind of fearsome eyelashes, and he had kind of spiked hair, and he looked interesting. He looked cool. And so I like Timberwolf. I also like a character that wasn't with the team for too long, but she was a lot of fun. Her name was Monstress, and she was basically a DC version of She-Hulk. She didn't look like She-Hulk. She looked like the Hulk, only as a woman. And initially she had green skin, but I guess Marvel sent a letter of complaint, and so they changed her to have an orange skin. What I really liked about Monstress was she was so feminine. Even though she's this huge hulking brute, she still appreciates the feminine things in life. And I thought that was just a delightful combination of, of Beauty and the Beast. Another one that I liked, who was barely with the team for any length of time at all, was CC Beck. What did they call her? She was in the Shazam family. She was also from the future. And she was named after the artist who was made famous by doing work on Captain Marvel, Shazam, whose initials were C.C. Beck. And so they just shoved the two initials together to make the woman's name Cece. And so CC Beck, I think they may have called her Thunder, but she was basically a Shazam-based hero, and she would become, since Shazam himself was no longer the guardian of the Rock of Eternity, but now Captain Marvel was in her time, she would say Captain Marvel and become Thunder, I guess. But she was a lot of fun too. Unfortunately, she was barely with the team. They didn't explore her character very much. And long live the Legion. And before we go, don't forget to like, comment, share the podcast with others, and subscribe. When you subscribe, hit the bell notification so you always get notified whenever I have a new video. Thank you, and God bless you.